working capital, right? It's like back home we used to call it's like overdraft. So here overdraft meaning anything less than $10,000 falls under overdraft, and anything above $10,000 it's called line of credit. And if you use the line of credit, you have to pay interest. If you don't use, you don't have to pay anything. That is the beauty of line of credit. And especially line of credit is for stock and receivables. Normally what happens in business is you actually purchase stock, you actually purchase goods, you buy goods in cash, right? And most of the business are not in cash business, so they have to provide credit terms also. So that's account receivables. So for business, if I actually buy stock for $100, and if I have like $100 in my market from my various parties, so $200 has been stock in my business. So I need to have some running cash flow. That's how bank actually comes into a scenario to help you to run your daily running business operations.
The reason for asking this question is that if somebody needs to rent his basement, but he doesn't have the separate entrance, so to build a separate entrance needs $25,000 or $30,000. So does CIBC help give some credit for this?
Obviously, we can help. There are certain parameters. If you are talking about the basement, I believe it falls under personal banking, right? Oh. Because business only supports for business. And if that basement is particularly owned by business operations, we can definitely help in terms of term loan. If someone is actually living in a basement, if he or she wants to do some kind of renovation, we do have program for that also under personal banking.
That will be interest will be higher than this one?
Normally it depends. So there are like various parameters. Interest rates are actually based on your Beacon score, right? Credit bureau score, and how strong you are in terms of network, your cash flow. Basically, interest rates are determined by various parameters like Beacon score, your income strength, right? Your cash flow, how long you have been in the business, right? It all depends. So interest rates are not actually fixed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You said CIBC prime is 3.9%, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it compared to other competitive banks?
No.
Higher or low?
Yeah, so as far as I understand, Prime is actually governed by federal government, right? So almost 5 banks have the same prime rate.
Yeah, all the CIBC, TD, RBC, Prime is the same, 3.95. This is based on
I would like to know that if CIBC will be able to launch a product to finance this banking credit overseas, not the project in Canada, project in different countries, developed countries, Bangladesh, other countries.
Yeah, if it is like a startup company, right, we have those kind of programs, not under business banking. It falls under, because we are doing some business across the country, right? So there are certain kinds of risks that we see as a lender, as a bank, we need to mitigate. So as of now, business banking doesn't have that kind of facility for doing lending abroad the country, right?
So my question that this the company, if they have a project here in Canada, same project, they have another project overseas, will be able to finance that project so they can use that money, the project in another country.
Just to add this question, like say a company, very renowned company and like multinational company.
Right.
So its head office in Bangladesh and it has several offices in several countries in the world. So kind of multinational companies. Do you have any option?
Well, absolutely, bank does have options.
Let me answer take the question away.
Can you go over the properly answer, please?
Yeah. So when you talk of multinational, they would follow the commercial banking. They will not follow the retail and small business banking. The reason is because the span is very different. The risk and collaterals are going to be of a different nature. So those are dealt with commercial banking sector, but they fall in a different category altogether. With respect to your project in Canada and your project in Bangladesh, it all depends where the assets and collaterals will lie. Because let's say something goes wrong in the Bangladesh project, we should be able to recourse that particular fund back at that time. So it depends upon the nature of the project and what the assets we're looking at. I hope I answered the question.
No, not 100%. This you say this is an unsecured.
That's line of credit.
Let's say line of credit $1 million. Okay, so this is.
You don't have a line of credit for 1 million, first of all. That's a business loan.
Business loan. I'm talking about the business loan, line of credit or business loan.
Yeah.
To $1 million. So my concrete question is, I can support you collateral here, everything, but I would like to use this money overseas.
Whatever you need to use is up to you at that point, as long as the collateral satisfaction is met. Right? The loans are always secured. They are secured by collateral that you have. So what you do with the money subsequently, you have to be repaying that money. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I think his hand was up earlier.
For the real estate side, do you do collateral charges or just straight on the property itself?
When you say real estate side, what exactly do you mean?
Like if you're going for the small business financing program, where it's $350,000. When you register for charges like real estate property, is that regular price of the property or is it collateral?
It's a collateral charge, number one. Number two, we also take personal guarantees for those. Sorry.
My question is about the student loan. I think Mr. Ajay, you touched upon this in the beginning, but I think later on we didn't find any detail of that. So would you be able to explain just in a nutshell what you have in terms of the student loan? And the second is that how competitive are those interests with respect to the students' loan that the students get from the federally provisional loan?
So there are two kinds of student loans, first of all, so that we understand the bifurcation. One is general student's loan, which requires a co-guarantor, which is essentially your parents or somebody in the family, siblings or something like that. The other one is a professional student loans, like medical courses, for example, or legal courses, for example, which are of a higher degree of nature, with a certain certainty of payback happening once they graduate. So when you look at the medical professional ones, they're extremely competitive. They're usually around prime minus 0.25 kind of a scenario. The other ones is based on the credit score of the guarantor, which is like, say, for example, if you want to go to an engineering program, they would not fall on the professional code, they would fall on the general category. So those would be, the rates would be dependent upon the credit score of the guarantor, more or less, and the net worth assets that we bring to the table for securing those. Usually they are very, very competitive, and I would say I'm fairly confident that if you go to any of the 5 big banks, they would more or less be the same. It's the general, it's how the loan is disbursed makes a difference. Because you have to go back and get it disbursed every year. So you get, say for example, you get approved for $300,000, let's say hypothetically, then every year you can define how much you need based on your studentship.
And is there a grace period?
Sorry?
Is there a grace period that the government has?
There's a grace period, yes. It depends, 6 months, first 6 months, you do not have to pay, you just pay the interest amount. And once you, thereafter, it becomes converted into a loan after that. Initially, it's a line of credit kind of thing. It works like a line of credit more or less. But thereafter, it becomes a term loan for the particular family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Generally, how long does it take to get approval for a line of credit? How long is the process?
Line of credit, personal side or the business side?
Personal. Or actually, it's business and personal. Just both options.
Personal, it's going to be very simple, depending upon your personal income and what network you bring to the table. And they are not really secure, so they're unsecured most of the time. So they are pretty fast. On the business side,
yeah, once we have all the documents for business, it's a little bit different than the personal. So you need to produce 2-year financial statement for your existing business, right? Your last 2-year generals and a notice of assessment. So after you complete all the documents, it takes at least 2 weeks. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I had a
So for discussion, I understand that you have a kind of loan for startup business.
Yeah.
And if it is technology startup, then you provide the loan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's technical, non-technical, but there are a lot of variety of programs that you can work under depending upon what startup will look like. But yes, we do have programs for both startups and also business who are in existence at least 2 years or more. Yeah.
This one is small. I think I got the answer. Line of credit or personal line of credit, I can take abroad. Is this legal?
When you say take abroad, what exactly do you mean?
I
You use
want
it
to
once
use
abroad.
it outside.
You can use anywhere.
It's illegal, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you satisfy CRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, CRA.
Yes.
CRA.
To be honest, you don't need to actually tell the source of what you are using, the purpose of line of credit in personal, right?
Yes.
Well, for a technological startup, isn't that only you finance, or you have any business links where the startup business can be introduced?
Can you expand on that a little bit? What exactly you're looking for?
Like, someone has started the business, right?
Yeah.
So it's not only the finance matters, sometimes he needs the name. So he
For
needs-
marketing.
Yeah, for marketing purpose. So do you have any network where that startup business can be introduced?
We ourselves may not be having, but the federal government has got significant number of bodies that work in specific channels, and we can help you with that. We personally don't do that, but we do have partners in the government who are able to do that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for inviting
Let's give
us.
a big hand to Mr. Banerjee.
Thank you very much, Ajay Shrestha, for giving us the valuable information. We have here our